Hello and welcome again at a new episode of Rooted Woman, my podcast for women that are done running in survival mode, that are done with the hustle culture and are ready to change their life for good, or are ready to fully step into their power, embrace themselves, their female bodies, the intelligence and the wisdom of it all, our cycles, and really start to choose yourself. So, when I was going in my week, I found something that I really, really, really wanted to make a series out of in my podcast because I think it is related to so many women and it was so relatable to me when I was going through my own mental health healing processes. And it is really about feeling alone or feeling misunderstood because I see a lot of women be afraid of the fact like, is someone gonna get me? Is someone, really seeing where I'm going through? Do they really understand me? Am I the only one? Like, why is this happening to me? And these things, I'm saying this from a place of love, can keep you stuck because it can be a bit of like keeping yourself at the same spot instead of taking leadership. And so I want to inspire you in this series where I'm going to share real stories from real people because that's what we need. And this is all based on every week I do a little edit. I do a little weekly audit and I digest what I saw happening, what I saw women move through, and which choices I saw make, what was happening inside their worlds to show that often there are things that are also going on with you, with others. And that you are not alone and that there actually are people that understand you, that actually can help you, and you don't have to be stuck in your process. Especially what I always felt is like, yeah, but it is so much. I was struggling with my mental health, my gut was not in balance. I felt it in my hormones, in my cycle. I was struggling with things in my work. So it was like, how do I actually come with all these things to a person, and how is that person gonna understand all of it? And I feel myself now that person that can hold the space for a woman like that as well. That's why I love to work holistically, because I know, as you, like as myself, as all women that I speak to on a daily basis in my programs, they are as well struggling not on only one specific thing, but there are like things popping up and different things feeding each other, patterns and beliefs, like maybe letting go of old identities, things where you really deeply go through, like shedding layers, almost if it's like rebirthing yourself, like letting go of old past versions. And that can be something that is pretty heavy to carry alone. So I want to create that safe space for you where you can be, where you can heal, where you can grow, but don't have to do it alone. So I'm gonna share the real stories from real people. They are anonymous stories, of course, to keep them private for their privacy. But in this way, I still can give them a voice without them having to be fully visible in their vulnerability already, because sometimes that's a really hard part to do, which I understand. Like, we almost always think like, yeah, but what if I share my story, and what do others think about it? What if someone has like, yeah, bad ideas around it, or how would they judge me? And this is actually a big part that often drives the way why we're doing what we're doing, why we're feeling what we're feeling. But in the part of the process, of course, like, no one has to share their stories when they're not ready for it yet. So I felt, and I wrote down this week in my journal, like, I want to be a voice. I want to be a voice that moves mountains. And we women, we are the voices that moves mountains. And together we can create a better, more beautiful world. And I truly believe that deep inside my bones, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. Like, let's spread more love, let's spread more light, and let's inspire and help each other. So I'm gonna do the weekly digest from what I see here behind the scenes in my work. And I think that's gonna give you a perfect insight in what people move through, how they move through it, what we do, and what kind of women I work with as well. Because sometimes maybe you're doubting, like, would that be something for me? Is this yeah, like, could this work for me as well? And this shows you that I help all kind of women with all kind of things that are often all coming back to the same thing, and that's restoring the balance in their selves, in their bodies, in their health, in their minds, like the all holistic picture of it. So, where I wanted to start this week is at a story of a client of mine with a missing period. And helping a woman with missing periods is a very, very big topic. I always seem to attract the woman without a period, and I really love to work with them. And these are often women who are not getting helps further at doctors or regular healthcare, and they come to me. Maybe they even have seen um, a naturopath or something like that before, but they're still a bit stuck. So we have to take it more broad and holistic, and we have to look at her. And what was happening here, and this is exactly the point where I came to, well, I think we have to speak up, we have to share our stories and create awareness that we are so much more powerful. Our bodies are incredible powerful, but we have to come up for ourselves. So what was happening here is that the woman with the missing period has not have a period in a long, long time. I'm talking about like years and years. And she decided to go see a doctor again to let things checked, to see, hey, what is maybe going on with that period. Maybe I have to do some run some tests to create more insights, because I think it's pretty important that she comes back. And that's the first part. It is really important that we have a healthy cycle as a woman, and that she does every month the thing that she has to do. When that isn't happening, that can, for example, a big topic here is decrease our bone health, our bone density. So that's why we need to ovulate and to menstruate. That aside, like, what she did is go to the doctor and say, hey, my period is missing for a long time. Can you maybe help me? And then the doctor dared to ask her, like, or dared to say, like, yeah, but you know what? You're still young. She was in the beginning of her 20s. You're still young. Maybe come back later if you want to get pregnant. But yeah, who knows? Maybe you never ever want to get pregnant and it's all fine. And then when she was telling me that story, my whole body like closed down, because I was like, wow, that we in 2026, that there are doctors that are still saying things like this, is truly amazing to me. It's insane, like crazy insane. And this is the reason I do my job, because women like that need and want help and want to take charge and leadership over their bodies. And you actually can. The thing is, the doctors, they want to help to a certain point, but often they're not fully aware of what's going on, and they don't know about the holistic and lifestyle approach that you can do with something going on in a missing period. I'm not gonna dive deep in that because I can do a whole like seminar about that, about missing periods and how to restore them. Because you really can easily when you follow the right steps. But like at a point like that, I felt like she felt so small because she really was vulnerable, speaking up, taking leadership, going to the doctor, shared a story again, and the doctor didn't even want to run some blood tests, didn't want to even send her further to look further. He only said like, yeah, maybe you don't want to get pregnant, so it doesn't matter anyway. And that's, yeah, you can't say that. I think that's such a bad thing to say. And you can say like, yeah, but maybe another doctor is better. And I'm gonna tell you, there are some great doctors out there, but in overall, I hear bad things. I hear them all the time, and we have to change that. You have to know that if you are struggling with health complaints, that there is a big reason, and I'm talking about like maybe 90% a chance that you yourself can solve it with an holistic approach. So, saying that, what we did, the women, she came to me, we looked at it. I know for sure she has hypothalamic amenorrhea, and this is a missing period due to stress in the body, and it has to do with some hormones and how they react to each other, and the stress hormones, and so we need to recover that. So what we can do is still, I work with clients where we can do science-based blood testing, or I also work with stool testing, for example, and that kind of stuff that still a woman can do herself at home, and then she sends it to the lab, they analyze it, but we test at very specific things. We don't test at the basics, and then you get your test back if the doctor tests you and they say everything is fine, because often there's still overlooked minerals, overlooked vitamins that we really need to ovulate and to menstruate. So when you had your health thing going on, you've been to a doctor, and your blood work came back, quote, normal, then there is a very big chance that they didn't look at specific parameters that can show you that there are actually things that are out of balance. Because if you feel out of balance, there's gonna be a disbalance somewhere. We only need to find the right spot, and not like if you, yeah, for example, I give you an example. When you have shoulder complaints, you go to a doctor. The doctor looks at your shoulder, or the physiotherapist looks at your shoulder, and says like, okay, well, yeah, your shoulder seems fine, but doesn't look at the rest of your body. So he doesn't look at how you sit at your desk all day. He doesn't look if you carry maybe a child all day on that arm. He doesn't look like what's happening in your organs, if something is really really having tension in another part of your body, while your shoulder is overreacting on that. Because this is what happening often, like certain tensions come from certain points. He doesn't look what kind of tension you maybe carry on your shoulder energetically. And this is exactly the reason why I want to show you there are more ways to look at a certain problem. So if you've been stuck, if you've been struggling, you don't have to be stuck, you don't have to be struggling, you just can move forward. So this was situation one. I'm gonna share another situation from another really, really amazing client of mine. And she is a very successful entrepreneur. And um, she is really doing great business. She's really going into really a big part path of growth. And she's really successful. But the thing she was struggling with is her routines. Like, suddenly, somehow, inside her life, inside her business, like she looked very successful on the outside, But deep inside, she was so struggling with going out of her healthy routines. Like after a couple weeks of eating healthy and working out, having her morning routine and that kind of stuff, she lets go. And we were looking at, okay, if this happens all the time, I asked her to see what was exactly the point where she did let go. And this was the point where every time her mind told her that her work was more important than her. So there was a sense of urgency. And you know, I talk about urgency a lot and following that, or actually, you shouldn't follow that. Like, actually, in her brain, there was something going on like, okay, no, work needs to go harder now. I need to dive all in because my numbers are a bit down or it slows down a bit. And that was when she lost herself, lost the connection with herself, and started running harder. And this, exactly this, is how we get into hustle mode, into survival mode, without actually thinking it is taking us over. Because we think like, nah, yeah, just open my laptop a little bit earlier. Nah, just start working a little bit earlier. But somehow, every time we slip further into it, and we feel less energized, less ourselves, less social, less happy, less healthy, and that's not what we want, especially when you're doing a job that asks so much from you. We need our health and yourself at number one. Your health and well-being should always be number one. So what I did with her was truly looking at that pattern, because she knows she needs a routine. She knows that she needs to work out to feel good. She knows she needs the right food in the morning. And even though she knew all those things, it didn't happen the whole time. She slipped back. So we really dived into the pattern. We dived into the pattern of like, why do we stop doing it? And why do we start following that urgency? And there is that urgency loop that we found and that we're gonna break through. So we created a new loop. We created awareness on the urgency and stopped her from following us. And we started to actually feel safe with trusting our gut. So instead of always following that urgency and ignoring our body's needs, she started to really check in with herself and what she really needed in that moment, which was giving her way more sustainable results. And this is how she broke the loop. And that's amazing. And that's how quick you can go with it. And maybe there's going to be a week where she falls a bit back, but she's aware. And awareness is such an important part here. Aware of why you're doing what you're doing. Again. So now she knows that urgency is the thing that creates her to be stuck in a loop. It's the thing actually to stop also doing, to stop the loop and to feel healthy again. And this is amazing. So these are all already like two great and amazing stories of women who are taking their power back and yeah, start to really like listen to themselves and take leadership, and I love seeing that. Another one that I'm quickly gonna share is one of my clients. She sent me a message this week of, Romy, I finally did it. I finally choose myself, and I said no. I said no to my job, to showing up again after I told them for many, many times that I feel drained, that I feel non energized, and I need help figuring it out. So what I actually see in this situation, and this is the last part of our first series, our first real stories, is what I see in this situation is nowadays, even though women sometimes take up space and tell what they're feeling and try to follow their guts, that sometimes we even don't get to be taken serious. And that's just a very big problem. So, what we're doing here is not over explaining ourselves and people pleasing to we're finally getting understood and finally getting heard. But what we do is taking ourselves action. So she decided, you know what? If you're not going to help me in my work with the boss inside her job, then what I'm doing is I'll take leadership myself and I'll take a step back myself. And that is the most brave thing to do. And I was so, so proud of her seeing her do that and finally choosing herself after all that while. And that made her feel so good immediately to take space for herself and time for herself to slow down and take a rest instead of running in the rat race that, yeah, didn't feel good at this point. Her body just said, I need a break, and she followed it. So these are all examples of things happening in my world and things that I see happening with women like you. And maybe you're going through something as well. Like you're also struggling at work or with your work and your routines. Maybe there's something going on in your health that needs addressing. And yeah, there can be so many things on so many layers, but 9 out of 10 times they're all connected, and we all struggle with the same things because of the same reasons. So you're not alone, you are not weird, you're not the example, you're not having something going on that's never going to be cured. You just need the space and the groundedness to look at it from a clear perspective and heal it in a holistic and sustainable way. So if you ever feel that you are someone like these girls, someone like this women, and you find that you're ready to take action and finally feel good again because you know that you can't longer go through in this cycle of actually not choosing yourself, then I'll just invite you in having a like one-on-one chat with me so we can look into your life and see what you need to move forward. So check the show notes for that. And I thank you for listening again. So see you next time.